a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for June 14th, 2024 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, FromSoft said it's nice to want things about a Bloodborne PC port. And is Astro Bot about to dominate the rest of the year? But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Shawn, TurboShawn McDowell. How are you doing?
Jeff, it's Dregs Day, and that means one thing only. I got to show off my personal project at the top here.
Ooh, okay.
Show and tell. I got to continue the tradition.
You have hobbies? That's weird.
I have hobbies outside. Well, it's not completely outside gaming. Inspired, but not. I planned this out before the live show, and because you brought it up as an appropriate joke, I felt the need to talk about, Jeff, I upgraded my NAS, baby.
Oh, fun. Really? Okay. That's excellent. I do keep considering this. You know, for a hot minute there, I had a router where I could just plug a USB drive into it, and it basically worked as a poor man's NAS, but I was totally happy with it.
And that's basically what I do. Because you have like the NVIDIA Shield you're still rocking for
the NVIDIA Shield
stuff.
is great for that sort of thing. I actually I did move it over to what is it? INEO sent me one of their mini PCs that I should still do a video on that. I moved it all over to that because it's just a little bit more handy to have Windows. It's just easier for me to access remotely and all that stuff.
Funny you should say that, because my quote unquote NAS for a long time has just been an external hard drive plugged into a Raspberry Pi that shares over the network.
Yeah, great.
Accomplishes the same thing. Upgrade both components. The hard drive is now a WD Red, so an actual hard drive to be
real
on
NAS hard drive. Yep.
And then the Raspberry Pi has been upgraded to one of these little puppies.
Ooh,
this is the
B-Link NUC or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, no, it's like a cheaper one. You know, you have your Chinese handhelds. Now I have my Chinese Windows.
I love PCs. That. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, for audio listeners, it is roughly the size of like the current Apple TV. It's like
it's like an early Roku. Yeah.
Yeah, like an early Roku. It's like 2 decks of cards wide, 2 high. So it's a very, very tiny little thing. Not very powerful, but it's got an Intel N100, which is that's like not quite like what was above Atom back in the day, like Celeron.
Was it Celeron? Yeah, it was Atom, Celeron,
it's like
Pentium
level, level processor. It's not doing a lot, but if you want to do like some emulation on it or run some older games,
efficiency, right? That's what matters. Energy efficiency, not running so hot. So if you put it in like mine, one thing I'm worried about with this INEO one is it still runs kind of hot, and I have it in a mostly enclosed space. There is some ventilation, but mostly enclosed. And I'm like, this is probably not going to last very long. I should figure out a solution here. So those little ones running efficient is important.
One of the reasons I bought is because it tops out at 6 volts. Is it watts? 6 watts?
Watts. Yeah, watts.
Yeah. It tops out at 6 watts TDP. So like it's
that's
never
incredible.
Drawing
Actually,
much.
okay, that's fantastic.
And then it can, I have plugged into my TV is how I have. So, the hard drive is plugged in. That's being shared over the network. So I can back up all my work files and everything like that. But then because it's plugged into the TV with an HDMI cable, I can then, do some emulation stuff on it. The reason I bought this specifically with Windows and everything is that way I can do a 1080p, 60 FPS Twitch streams, 4K YouTube videos, no stuttering, and I have it on at night because I like falling asleep to that kind of stuff. And it's silent.
Yes,
it is absolutely silent.
Right,
I love it. And
is it passively cooled? It looks like it must be.
It has a fan.
Oh, it does have a fan. Okay.
It has a little fan that I can never hear unless I'm doing like the 4K video. It spins up a little bit, but I like put my ear up to it. Even I can't hear it at night. So yeah, I love this. But yeah, if anyone's checking out, you can find a million of these things on Amazon. This brand in particular is B-Link because the highest rated one. It was only $150, which considering how expensive some of these media box stuff is getting, like, that's not bad.
Yeah, these the tiny PCs have gotten very, very good in the last couple of years. So yeah,
I love just tiny PCs. My Steam Deck back there is like my favorite way to play games nowadays and everything like that. So getting one of these, and I don't need to since I'm operating all of the same room right now. But when I do move somewhere else, I can use this as like a little receiver because if people didn't know, in-home streaming for gaming is really, really good nowadays.
Yes, I mean, obviously, if you're wired, it's basically flawless at this point. If you're using the best software, so if you're using like Moonlight instead of NVIDIA stuff, like Moonlight has just improved it all and made it better. And there's equivalent. There's equivalent for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite is Parsec because Parsec will run over your local network, even though it requires a login, and so that way you can just get like native looking, like your PC hosting the game, but like I could like beam it to this thing plugged into my TV elsewhere in the house, in the apartment, whatever, and it just looks like it's native, and it's fantastic.
It's great, and then even Wi-Fi 6E is really the first wireless protocol that feels like, oh, this is the one to use if you're streaming video over the, streaming games or whatever over your local network. It's been working great for me.
Personally, because it's my NAS, I just have a really long Ethernet
cable. That's still best, yes. But it's like the new Steam Deck OLED, right? That's got 6Es, and I'm not going to be plugging that in most of the time. So
it's fine.
So it's great to be able to use that.
People asked, it did come with Windows 11, and is a completely clean version of it. So that's kind of the cool thing. That's neat. You expect some bloatware or something, but no, that HP nonsense, none of that stuff. No, it's just a clean install of Windows.
None of the Canon printer stuff. Yeah, that's always good. If you're listening to this and you're wondering, wait, do I need a network attached storage, which is what NAS stands for? You don't. You can
you do. Everyone does. Every human being on Earth.
Just go get Google Drive. Use OneDrive or whatever. Use that stuff instead. Like that stuff is
for
there
the
to
average
save your
person.
life.
That's good enough. Yeah, but since I have like terabytes of work stuff that I'm backing up and everything like that, that's a different story.
Right. Yeah. I'm just realizing okay, time to get on the torrent sites and back up all the ROMs locally now.
Oh, that's true. I wasn't gonna go there, but
that's the era that we're in. That's the
I have them all physically,
CDs, of course,
and then all my other obtained movies. Yeah, of course.
Yep. Oh yeah, the Plex server, absolutely. If you got your Plex server, we should swap. I'll give you access to mine. All right, we should explain what we do here that's not illegal. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with From Software boss would love more players to be able to enjoy Bloodborne. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. From Software president Hidetaka Miyazaki has said he'd love more players to be able to enjoy Bloodborne. Fans have long called for the studio to revisit the critically acclaimed and influential action RPG, which was directed by Miyazaki and published by Sony for PS4 in 2015. Coming up on 10 years. Miyazaki, who also directed Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, and most recently Elden Ring, was asked about a potential PC port of Bloodborne during an interview with PC Gamer. I know for a fact these guys, and this is a quote, I know for a fact these guys want a Bloodborne PC port, he said, referring to From Software producer Yasuhiro Kitao. And interpreter Bobby Simpson. If I say I want one, I'll get in trouble as well, but it's nothing I'm opposed to. Obviously, as one of the creators of Bloodborne, my personal, pure, honest opinion is I'd love more players to be able to enjoy it, Miyazaki continued. Especially as a game that is now coming of age, one of those games of the past that gets lost on older hardware. I think any game like that, it'd be nice to have an opportunity for more players to be able to experience that and relive the relics of the past. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's definitely not something I'm opposed to. Back in February, Miyazaki said he was very happy to see fans calling for a remake of Bloodborne, an IP that's owned by PlayStation maker Sony. From Software said this week that its most recent release, Elden Ring, has now shipped 25 million copies. Excuse me. Shawn, can we decode this? What is he trying to get across?
I read this as the headline should be Miyazaki say love more players to be able to enjoy Bloodborne as Jim Ryan holds a pistol to his back.
Yeah. What he says.
That's where he went, right? He's a Sony ninja now. He's taking all these fools out.
Yes, Jim Ryan. He's still in charge of everything. He's just in the shadows. Yeah. Listen, I think that when he says, I would get in trouble if I would say something, it's because it would cause headaches for everyone that's like, we're not doing that. So quit saying anything about it because it's just going to cause us even more headaches as fans get worked up and riled up about it. I think that the reality is like, yeah, everyone wants this. What does it take to make it happen? That is the challenge. And you know, I don't know anything for certain, but whenever I like look into this, or whenever I talk to someone that seems like they would have some insight, they're like, there is, as far as I could tell, there's nothing happening. That's what I keep hearing. So it's like, and that would include a PC port, that would include a remaster, that would include a Bloodborne 2. And that doesn't mean that there is for sure nothing happening. Some stuff could be in the works that's missing that I'm not seeing or whatever. But what I hear is probably nothing happening. Now, does that mean that we never see this? No. Something probably will happen with Bloodborne eventually. The inclusion of FromSoft on that project is the big question for me, Shawn, because like, what do we know about FromSoft now? This is all circumstantial evidence, but they are one of the biggest studios in the world. They can command any fee that they want. Their time is very valuable. If they work on one project, it means that they're not working on something else that could be even bigger and make even more money. So the idea of them going to work on anything Bloodborne related that would be locked down to PS4 or PS5 and just PS5 and PC seems unlikely at this point, right? Because Sony would have to pay a lot to make them whole, right?
Right. I think you're never going to get a Bloodborne 2 specifically.
Yeah, that seems very unlikely at this point.
At least from which
probably means
that's kind of the point.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't feel like that would ever happen. And when it comes to a remake or a remaster, well, the ball is entirely in Sony's court now because, you know, they own the IP. It was co-developed with a Japan studio who now is closed down. So like anything that was weird about that is now firmly, well, you know, they were PlayStation owned, of course. So like it was always in PlayStation's court. So it's just a question of why would they not want to do anything when clearly people are talking about it? And I think this may be one of those situations where they look at the numbers and they realize that the numbers just aren't there relative to the fan demand.
Right,
That's all I can think of. Because we have this sometimes where we talk about very beloved games, beloved series, and the numbers just quite aren't there to back it up. Bloodborne sold well, but
7 million copies. I think it's the number that goes around for this game. Yeah,
which is, you know, it's very solid.
Really good for an exclusive.
But if they're looking at that and they're just like, yeah, we don't see many more than like 1 million or 2 at this point of a remake, if that's what they're concerned about, I get it. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But yeah, I think we need to be looking at, well, it would be a Blue Point project at this point or something. And then like whenever they would be free, I just can't think of any other way this would happen at this point.
Yeah. I do think you're right that it comes down to some of those numbers where it's like, okay, 7 million is pretty good. It is. But it's not like that much more than any of these, a lot of other games that came out exclusively for the PS4. There were several games that did much better than that. And then we go back to the fee of, okay, here's what it would cost to get FromSoft to do anything with Bloodborne, even a remaster. And it would be, okay, we're paying a lot extra, that premium, to get something that is probably going to appeal to that same audience again. Now, I don't necessarily think that's like 100% the case. I think there's a chance here that now that Bloodborne has had so many years of becoming this mythical thing, that if it was reintroduced, it could have an easy chance of reaching a much wider audience, especially after Elden Ring. But that's not like that, you know, those are hopes and dreams, and the companies are probably just looking at the numbers, and that's the story they can tell each other internally. And I think that causes some difficulty in terms of greenlighting these projects.
Because it's, and chat's kind of pointing out, maybe it's like too late for like just a straight upgrade path on PS5.
Maybe, yeah.
And so it would need to be some kind of paid project, and you're definitely going to lose people the second you say like it's a $60, $70 game.
Right
at that point. So,
you know, I know people mentioned that, you know, Lance McDonald, who's the big From Software guy, was like, oh yeah, he apparently he saw a version of the game running on PC, like way back when. And it's like, I'm sure that's not that there's a difference between the game running on PC, which is like, yeah, it's an x86 machine. Of course, they probably be able to get over there. That's not a product. There's a lot of work to go from turning a game that can run on PC into a product you can ship. And that work is probably just something that they aren't interested in pursuing right now because of all the costs that would be involved. That said, it is Bloodborne. It is a very beloved, and I think we get to a point in the future where they find some way to make something happen here. Bluepoint probably is it for like the next thing, but yeah, at the very least, I could see From Software doing the Dark Souls to Demon Souls thing, right? They didn't own Demon Souls, so they made Dark Souls. I could see them doing a spiritual successor to Bloodborne on their own that is multi-platform.
That's true too, if they want to, though, because I think their games are getting progressively bigger and bigger, and we can see that obviously with Elden Ring, and I think they're probably going to keep going down that path.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the next game for them almost certainly is Elden Ring 2, right? How do you just
because that would be something that is in the blueprint but is something else,
right? Yeah, the follow up to Elden Ring is going to be one of the biggest launches in the history of gaming, so. Yeah, they're just not going to ignore that, I don't think. But yeah, we'll see. All right, next up, Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster is, quote, real and happening, according to latest update. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. There have been ongoing rumors about Square Enix's Final Fantasy Tactics making a return after some leaks in 2021. We've now got a small update. If you were wondering what the status is on the supposed project, according to Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier, it's, quote, real and happening. He provided this update on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit a few days ago. An online listing in the same year of the leak included some logo artwork and the game titled Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster. Of course, this is a part of the NVIDIA leak, so we've had a pretty good idea this is real for a while, but we haven't heard anything about it, and there's been some question about Square Enix canceling games here or there, although I don't think very many people ever thought this was one that would be up on the chopping block. Seemed like this one was a pretty kind of a certainty just based on, well, what are they going to retreat to? They're going to retreat to more Final Fantasy, and this is one that made a lot of sense. I've heard Final Fantasy IX a bunch of times. Personally, I haven't heard much about Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster, so I find this very reassuring that Jason's out there saying this. How about you?
Look, Jeff, Jensen's prophecy has not been wrong yet.
It's not been wrong yet.
I don't expect it to be wrong on this one. Yeah, I'm sure his project is floating out there somewhere. I think the real question at this point is, what does it look like? Because some people were, when we didn't know really any details, were saying remake, and there's always a question of what does a Final Fantasy remake look like now in a post 7 remake world, and we were never going to get something like that for, I think, even the 9 remake probably isn't that. Like me and Mike have talked about it a little bit, and I think we both agree that's probably going to be like a Persona 3 Reload type of thing, where it's just the same game, radically overhaul graphics and everything like that. And so with Tactics Remaster, I don't know, it's probably going to be another Square Enix. They spruce it up, maybe they mess it up with some AI upscaling, as we saw with I don't think we've talked about it all,
Kingdom Hearts,
Kingdom Hearts 3 had some weirdness with a recent update where they used some AI upscaling, and some stuff looks a lot sharper. But yeah, that's what it is. It released on Steam. But yeah, some of the like 2D assets of like hand-drawn things within the universe look like just slop as a result. So I don't know. I imagine it's going to be like that. It's going to be like a Chrono Cross. They did that recently. I think a Tactics Remaster would be something more like that. I wouldn't expect anything too big. Yeah, there is there was like a fan AI upscaled version of Final Fantasy 7, right? That's what it was. I think it was. Of 7? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that. That looked pretty good for the most part. I don't know why these companies can't do it as well as fans can, but
time, really, because the fans are putting in time to make sure that they like do a lot of passes on the upscaling.
Right, they're detail obsessed.
They manually edit some stuff and everything like that.
That makes
Whereas
sense.
These companies, it's important to realize because God, what was it recently? But I had we were talking about something, or you guys were on GBNA or something, and the discussion came up of, well, why can't the devs do blank? And it always comes down to the fact that it's time and budget, and it's how much time and money those people, because remember, these devs are just human beings, like all of us. They're trying their best within the constraints of the budget that they're given, and time literally is money. So, the time that they're given as well. So that's usually why.
If this is coming, well, when do you think we see it? Because it's like, this is one of those ones that easily could have been announced at any number of shows for the last year. We get through Summer Game Fest, it's not there as well. Do you have hope for
it's
the
Square
Direct?
Enix. Like, who the hell knows at this point?
Yeah.
Like, they literally just release things whenever,
Right.
as we saw with the shotgun blast of games, last year or the year before, with various daylife or whatever
those different games.
it
Yes,
was. Like,
that's right. It's
and they
one of
just
them.
put 1 million of those out all at once. They didn't care. So I don't know. It could come out at any time. I think a tactics game would do well on Switch. So yeah, maybe it is related to a Direct or something. I don't know.
Also, this is like, you know, this game's been planned for a very long time, but they did have that recent, they being Square Enix, had that recent sort of come to Jesus moment where they're like, man, we got to stop ignoring the Switch so much, and we got to stop putting all our eggs in the PlayStation basket. I think taking this moment to be like, tactics, Nintendo Switch, at the Direct, it's coming soon, makes a lot of sense to sort of put that statement out there that, hey, Final Fantasy's back in a big way on Switch. But that's me just sort of fantasy booking at a certain point. You know, there's a lot of games that's like, well, it hasn't been anywhere else, so all hope is on the Direct for Hollow Knight, Silk Song, and Final Fantasy Tactics.
That game that exists.
Right, exactly. So we'll see. We maybe should keep our expectations in check for this Direct. Although, Shawn, I think you have my back on this one. Metroid Prime 4 at that Direct, I'm believing more and more every day.
Dude, Mike Minotti is freaking insane.
I got shoot hot at him yesterday for being like, if it gets announced for the Switch, I'm going to be disappointed. Shut the hell up. You shut your mouth.
Knows nothing about game development.
he would admit that. He admits that too. So
he admits it too. Yeah, I'm not just roasting him. But you don't just hit the export as Switch 2 button. Like, Mike, it's a completely different architecture and everything. There's no way they spent like 6 years of development hell only to just like magically switch over in the past like year or two. Like, no. It is minimum a cross-gen game. And if I'm wrong about that, Jeff will eat his hat because I ain't betting on this.
I think I did. Yes, I think we made a Margaritaville bet.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whoever loses has to pay the Margaritaville bill. Exactly. It's
important to know. It's important to know because I think this was leaked information that Metroid Prime 4 is running on the basis of Prime Remastered.
Right.
And
it is. Okay.
I know that was one of his concerns why he doesn't want it on the Switch is he's afraid of how it will run. If it's running on the same tech as Remastered, we will be fine.
We will be fine because that game runs great. Holy moly!
It might not look like this revolutionary PS5 level game or anything like that, but it's probably going to be a solid at least like 900p, 60 FPS, and it's going to like.
It's a Metroid Prime game. Good. It's about the art. It's the art. It's always been about the art with those games. That's why when Metroid Prime came out on the GameCube, everyone's like, "This looks like a game from the future." It's because it had the best art at the time that you could get in a 3D game.
Exactly.
I don't know, so I'll be planting my flag. I think that game is out this holiday for the Switch. Gets announced at the Direct. I'm really hopeful.
I can see it. Yeah, if this is basically their E3 style Direct that's coming out sometime in the next month, we assume here, then yeah, that makes sense.
All right, moving on here. Astro Bot beats Doom as the #1 wishlisted game of the Summer Games Showcases. Let's go.
No, hold up. I need to call you on this. I haven't had a chance to yell at you yet.
Go ahead.
On GB at night, when you had the couch of basically the FPS crew, and you were talking about like, hey, just let me enjoy Astro Bot, internet. Just let me like things, you know? Don't let me tell you why Horizon fucking sucks. Like, what the hell, man?
Listen, Lego Horizon Adventures is the best Horizon game ever made, all right? It's really fun.
My God, I'm glad you're at least turning around on that.
That was I definitely played that and I was like, oh, I feel bad now. This is good job, Gorilla.
Yeah, let me like things again.
Let me like things. All right, fair enough. You got me. In the meantime, Astrobot #1. This is from Christopher Dring at GamesIndustry.biz. Astrobot is the winner of the Summer Games Showcases so far, with the most wish list of all the games shown and or announced over the past 2 weeks. This data comes from the IGN playlist, which is a backlog and play activity tracker that is available on the web and via mobile app. The chart below is based on the purchase intent of over 43,000 gamers and factors in new wish lists from May 30th, the day of the PlayStation State of Play conference, to June 12th. The interest in Astro Bot may come as a bit of a surprise. After all, Sony stated earlier in the year that it didn't plan to release any major new titles based on existing IP this year, and this game is due September 6th. Therefore, it's likely even PlayStation had modest expectations for the game. I had the whole list somewhere. I'll find that here in a second, but I'm a little surprised that Astro Bot is number one, even though I think the game is going to exceed PlayStation's expectations. That's where I'm at with this game right now, that I think the game is going to get a huge swell of popularity because it's going to review very well. It's going to be the one big PlayStation 5 game, and I think it's going to get a lot of people excited and even be able to win over some people who are like, I don't show up to the PlayStation 5 because I don't really like some of these games. I think those people are like, well, this is what I like. So I'm expecting big things, and that means 5 million copies sold to like 7 million copies sold on the high end. And I think that's very good for this game. And I'm really hopeful. And I think that this is a very good sign that we're on that path right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this game, if marketed correctly, could actually do well. It could have long legs because they need to treat this as their Mario. PlayStation has never had a really effective mascot that they own entirely, at least. So they really push Astro Bot. I can see that working for them because the problem with both PlayStation and Xbox right now is that they need more family-friendly stuff. That's why we see something like, Lego Horizon. And I think that this could really, fit the bill for them. I'm excited for both of these games mentioned here, both Astro Bot and Doom.
Doom number 2, Doom the Dark Ages.
I'm probably more excited for Doom personally, but the way you guys were talking about it, I love 3D platformers as well, and a big Mario guy. And the way Dan in particular was talking about Astro Bot has me like excited for this game in a way that, I thought Playroom on the PS5, it was really good, I thought, but it's very much a tech demo. Like
it's limited.
It's almost like the community that came out of it, like you and Dan speedrunning and everything like that. That was, I assume, almost somewhat unintentional. Like they thought that most people would treat like I do. It's the first thing you do when you fire up your PS5. It's a great way to get used to the hardware, the controller, and everything like that. But you probably just play it once, and then you're like, oh, that was really fun. That's what the PS5 can do. Now I'm gonna go play whatever game I bought the system for.
That's right, and we weren't alone. I remember Player One podcast. All three of them chose Astro's Playroom as their game of the year. So there was a lot of love for that game. But I think you're right that it's like that sort of all happened by accident. And so this and you're right in terms of it is a tech demo. It's the moveset very limited. Yeah, you get some power ups, but those are to show off the motion controls. This game is 100% the follow-up to Galaxy 2. It feels like Super Mario Galaxy 3 and all that implies in terms of quality and variety of gameplay mechanisms. It blew me away. So really high hopes. I think that there's a strong chance that this is like going to be the breath of fresh air that a lot of people have been craving from one of these big companies. Obviously, there's breaths of fresh air in every direction if you look at indie games, but a lot of people they are only paying a little bit of attention, and they need that marketing and the big push behind it to like sort of notice something. That this game has the chance to take advantage of that.
Definitely.
What other games from the Summer Game Showcase do you think would be on the top 10 most wishlisted on IGN playlist?
Ooh, top 10 most wishlisted. Just knowing capital G gamers, I assume Gears
is number 3. Somewhere in there. Gears of War E-Day, number 3. Well done, Shawn. All right, well then what's number 4 if you're going to be so right?
Oh, gee, number 4. I assume it's something from the Xbox show because that's
right.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It is from
it Perfect Dark?
It's Perfect Dark at number 4. All right, number 5. This one is not from the Xbox showcase. It was announced a little bit before that.
It's got to be Monster Hunter, right?
This one is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Monster Hunter Wild's not on the top 10, actually.
Interesting.
I wonder if that will change as some of that gameplay gets out there. The show, the behind closed doors, quote unquote, the showcase that a lot of people saw. As that gets out more, I wonder if that will shift. Let's see. Number 6. I don't think there's any chance you will get this. Maybe you know more than I do about this one. I saw it. I think it looks good. It looks a lot like a Final Fantasy 16 kind of to me. Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Oh, the Ben Starr game.
The Ben Starr game, yes.
Oh yeah, no, people are talking it up because it's apparently a turn-based RPG.
It's turn-based. Okay, I didn't know.
Admittedly, was busy during that segment of the Xbox show, but yeah, or
it looked really good. It looked really good to me. So
yeah, I hear people talking it up. So okay, cool.
All right, number 7 returns to the Xbox showcase. What do you think?
Something else from Xbox.
There's
There's a lot in that show. So is it Call of Duty?
Call of Duty's number 9. So that's 9. Good guess. And
Fable.
So Fable's number 8. Number 7, surprisingly, above Fable, South of Midnight. I think that shows how strong an appearance that game had, that it was able to get above Fable. And I'm
really curious about that one.
I thought it looked really
that game, I think, is going to need accessibility options, though, because I appreciate that they're going for sort of the Spider-Verse
on the
style of, like,
or whatever. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the camera moves at 60 FPS. And so that's something I noticed because a problem that I had when I put that costume on in Miles Morales, because, I love that costume because I love the movie, but I noticed running at 60 and then the character animating slow actually kind of made me motion sick. So I think they are going to have to think about that and maybe like have some options for that.
Yes, I think that they probably will think of that. You're probably right. And then number 10, the one EA game.
Dude, EA had a presence?
BioWare.
Oh, Dragon Age.
Yes, Dragon Age, the Veilguard. The Veilguard.
What a bad name,
dude.
The Veilguard. Just call it Veilguard. Don't put the Veil in there.
It's weird, yes.
Anytime you begin your subtitle with the, you need a good reason for it. Like, what? It's like Doom the Dark Ages, where it's like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense.
I like that. Sounds important, yes.
No, just drop it.
Maybe context will provide, 2020 hindsight on this, but in the moment, doesn't have good mouthfeel. Worth noting that, as we said at the top of the story, this is the top wishlisted games from May 30th through June 12th. So if a game was announced previously, like Avowed or Monster Hunter Wilds,
I see.
It's not going to have the advantage of like just getting announced in this window and really hitting it hard. So,
and it's also it's specifically from IGN, which big
certain kind
audience.
Of gamer. Yep.
But certain kind of gamer, and this is really the only way we could get the numbers on stuff like PlayStation stuff, because PlayStation, apparently I learned this, does have wish listing now, but obviously they don't talk much about that. So this is where we will get that data.
43,000 gamers though, so pretty decent snapshot, as Christopher Dregs said in his story. Definitely. Like a snapshot of like what's going to happen for the rest of the year. I don't think this says Astro Bot's going to be the number 1 best-selling game of the year or anything like that. Obviously it's not what it says. Just really curious to me. That's like, okay, the game can get to the top of a chart like this and be like the standout game, even among a lot of stand-ups.
Core audience is like looking at this, which is a good sign, because you want those people to be on it first, and then that trickles out into the parents and everything buying it for their kids and whatnot.
Exactly. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, a lot more, including Aloy in Smash Brothers, right after this.
Damn birds.
Those damn birds are back, and so are we. They were loud. Oh my god, I did hear that. That's wild.
Yeah, right?
PlayStation hero Aloy in Smash Brothers? ? That'd be nice, the dev says. This is from George Yang.
It's nice to want things. How many times have we said that?
It's nice to want things. It's from George Yang at GameSpot. With Horizon Lego Adventures coming to not only PS5 and PC, but also Switch, that means main protagonist Aloy is in a game for Nintendo. Some believe this could open up the possibility of her joining Nintendo's All-Star Ensemble series, Super Smash Bros. In an interview with developer Guerrilla Games, Kotaku asked if PlayStation and Nintendo's new partnership meant that Aloy could eventually come to the next Super Smash Bros. Entry. Franchise development lead producer Tim Simmons said, "That'd be nice. If you speak to Nintendo and they want to invite us, let me know." However, no new Smash Bros. Games have been announced, but are expected given how successful the series is. Listen, I think what this says is this person that is somewhat in charge of this franchise would be fine with that. I bet we are in a world now where Sony would be more open to this sort of thing going forward. I think they've all sort of realized the old paradigm of the competition between these three console platforms is sort of in the rearview mirror, and now it's them against the world in a lot of ways, where it's like there are a million things to take people's attention, and so like they're not all in it together, but working together is not going to have any detrimental effects. Do you think Nintendo would be like, sure, invite Aloy? I don't know. You're the big Aloy defender. Come on.
She's an okay character.
I have zero problems with Aloy. I do think she's the most interesting in the Lego game. You just hate
women. That's what it is, isn't it? You're just like Mike Minotti.
I love Aloy. I love women. Come on.
No, I mean, even someone in the chat asked, like, why are they pushing Aloy so hard? Look at the numbers. The people out there off Twitter and everything like her, apparently.
Yep.
I don't know. It depends on if Sakurai likes the game, right? Like that's the only reason someone has gotten to Smash so far. He was like, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Persona 5, so I reached out to the Atlas crew. Like that's why it happens. And so, who knows if Sakurai will do the next game. He's very adamant about this one. Like, no, Ultimate was the last one. You can never tell with that guy, but whoever is directing the next one will carry the legacy of Sakurai at the very least, and that's how it's going to happen here as well. It's going to be, is there interest in this game? Do we like this game? Do we have a good relationship with the developers? That's how, bring it back to that human element I mentioned earlier in the show. That's what it all comes back to. Like, do these people like that people, and they want to put their character in our game because we like their game? It really is as simple as that. Yep. We are kind of past that whole, the companies aren't console warring as much because a light bulb went off in someone's head one time and said, but money.
You know what, like, I think it really was? I do think it was the Activision acquisition that really broke it, because
it's part of it. Definitely.
I think it's the thing that finally really truly broke it, because all these companies involved had to sort of like go in court and explain their thinking, and they're like, well, when it comes down to it, when we have to tell the truth, it's we're not really thinking about it that way. We're just worried about light bulb money. Yeah, it's
like the it came up in one of these trials, and like, I don't want to say the wrong one here, but it was one of the antitrust things where a judge said, well, why can't I put a PlayStation game into an Xbox? Like, I can put, back in the day, I could put a tape into any VHS tape into a VCR. I put a CD into a CD player, DVD into a DVD player. Why are video games different? And they were just, I think they were playing devil's advocate on the whole thing, because nobody had a good answer. Nobody had a good way to explain that.
Yep. And I think
they were just like business.
Yep. And I think these companies are starting to realize it's like trying to maintain those walled gardens is not worth the return on investment that you get from it. So, I could see a world easily where Aloy shows up in a future Smash Brothers game. But you're right.
It's more possible than it was, like even 5 years ago.
Right, exactly. And it doesn't mean it will happen. You're right. A lot of that comes down to just the people and how they talk to one another. That's how it works in like movies too. It's like someone was on the right plane ride out to do another shoot, and they meet the director of another movie, and they're like, hey, you want to be in the movie? It's just always human interactions that lead to these things. So I think that was a good diagnosis of like what could lead to this. We'll see.
Oh, God, Dan Riker, you said going to a shoot, and I immediately thought, like, what does that mean? What do you mean going to a reel? Oh, Jesus Christ.
My bad. I get it. All right. There's a report. Sony's live service efforts have led to fewer games. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. Ever since Sony confirmed a few years ago that it would greatly increase its investment in live service games, many have worried that this would in turn lead to an erosion of Sony's more traditional and very high-end single-player games. Unfortunately, that seems to have been the case, and as a result, fewer and fewer first-party games have been released from Sony this generation. Earlier this year, they had even flagged that they wouldn't be releasing anything new in their biggest game franchises until the next fiscal year at the earliest, which begins April 1st, 2025, and shelved several projects. Now, Bloomberg journalist Jason Schreier claims in an article that it is precisely the live service initiatives that have led Sony to release a decreasing number of new games. But with some major titles delayed and fewer projects in the pipeline due to a pivot to service games that went awry, PlayStation will look to bolster holiday console sales by reaching a new audience. While this is probably what many suspected, Schreier is very reliable and probably the closest thing to an official confirmation of this that we can get. Yeah, I think
sounds like this was a bad idea.
Yes, and I remember that chart from a few years ago where they're like, we are not going to decrease the amount of money that we spend on our traditional games. We're just putting more money into live service games. And that was like the argument, is that, hey, don't worry. The amount of resources going to the games you like is going to remain the same. So you're going to get the same number of them. And I think the unsaid thing there was twofold. One, opportunity cost. And resources is not just money. Like you said, it's time and it's people. And anytime that time and people are being put on something else, the same amount of money could be over there, but they are going to be distracted. They are going to get pulled in different directions, and that is going to lead to less resources going into those traditional games. And then the other side of that is keeping the investment in traditional games the same when the costs are going up, because we're paying people more to make these games because they can demand higher salaries. That is also actually, in reality, less. You are putting less into these games. So here we are a few years later, seeing the byproduct of that. And of course, there's other factors, right? These games are getting more complicated to make. They are taking more time in general. So there was several reasons, but this really does seem to be the core of it. And that's why I go back to Jim Ryan got out while the getting was good, because this was, he saw this happening. He knew we were going to be here and that it was going to take
and honestly, Shawn Lane before him.
Yeah, Shawn Layden before. Yes. And it's like they knew that they would eventually get to this point, and this is going to require a whole new initiative, a whole new sort of what is the future of PlayStation, and that almost from the ground up rethinking and kind of being like, listen, we want to go back to making those traditional games, but they're bigger and more expensive than ever. So we can't just do that. We have to figure something else out here. And again, as we always say, they don't really seem to have the answer, right?
No. Yeah. And that's, I think, why we need to see more stuff, and why we will see more stuff like Lego Horizon, where it's, different audience, maybe a smaller project on more platforms, including like PC and Switch day one, is because like we've already talked about, the era of having your gigantic tentpole first party release on your own platform, that's just not doing it anymore when, the budgets aren't there to support it. Or maybe conversely, when the budgets have ballooned and the revenue coming back in isn't supporting it. So that's why, if they're taking these chances on these live service games, that, these initiatives aren't going well, you're just losing out here across the board. And so they need to figure something out. And I don't claim to have an exact answer either, but the approach here just clearly isn't working.
Yeah, I am. I don't think that whenever we have this conversation, it always feels like Sony, doom and gloom. That's not really what we're saying. It is just like, this is the current biggest obstacle, the biggest challenge. Clearly, the right answer for a company like PlayStation is put out games that people really want to play. They know that. They'll find some way to get back to that. It's just they are having trouble doing that exact thing in this moment. Right. And that's why people should be feeling a little anxious, because who knows what's going to look like when we get on the other side of this. All right.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Other stories here. Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater, confirmed to launch in 2025. This is from Eric Hillback Furu at Game Reactor. Back in January, PlayStation implied the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake was set to launch in 2024. Something a weird post from GameStop on social media seemed to corroborate earlier this week. Rather fitting, as the original will be 20 years old in November. Unfortunately, it seems like we can abandon that hope now. Nordic Game Supply, Konami's PR partner in the Nordics, has sent a press release reminding us about Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater's impressive gameplay trailer. The most interesting thing about it, however, is that the press release ends by stating Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is set to launch sometime in 2025. This was one of those where it's like, the whole time, like, this is supposed to come out in 2024? Is that right? That would be my feeling about it every time it got brought up. It seemed like that was maybe once the plan, but it's not the plan anymore, right?
Yeah. Remind me, this is the one being made by
Virtuous, I believe is the name of the studio.
Virtuous, that's right. That's
in South Korea. Virtuous in South Korea, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, because they have these because then like Silent Hill 2 is Bloober. Okay, and that checks out. Yeah, I mean, that sounds right. I don't know. It always seemed like, with how little they were talking about, it would have felt odd for them to commit to a 2024 release. So yeah, 2025 just feels right. It's going to be a relatively big project on the whole. I'm obviously unfamiliar with the team, so I don't know how big they are. Maybe they just need, even more time for this. But it's looking good. I thought it looked promising from their showing over the weekend. I think it's shaping up well. Even if there's some weirdness with it because, using only original voice lines as far as we know and everything like that.
I thought there was a report
oddities.
that they recorded a few new lines. I thought I saw that, but I did not look too closely at that. So maybe that was just people talking. I
think that might have just been people talking. Okay. Or maybe that's changed. I'm not super up on it because, like David Hayter did, he's doing some videos.
Yeah.
He's promoting it. So he's doing some videos. So, maybe they got him back in the booth to record some specific dialogue for new gameplay actions.
And this was something that got that I popped off in the last week or something as new information. So maybe that's the case. But either way, you're right. They are mostly just remaking that game 1-to-1. Even that trailer, right, was kind of a remake of the original trailer, is what Dan was saying. I have no memory of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
because people were comparing shots. So yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Right. So like that, it's okay, that is what they're going for here. So even if they do have some new lines, that's probably just because there was something garbled in the original and it didn't up-res correctly or whatever into the high-quality versions. It is. It's a big project. It's going to require, and this is one they will probably want to get right. Konami did say recently that they had one of their best, most profitable years in a very long time, and they directly credited the Metal Gear Solid collection for that. They're like, that is one of the biggest reasons we did that. So I think they see a pathway forward to be to have Capcom-like growth, which is the goal here and has been the goal. And if they get this game right, they should be well on their way to making that happen. And then there was suggestions in the last week when they were talking about this game and maybe more can happen with Metal Gear Solid after this game. And they would probably want to make a new game or do other remakes, of course. So a lot's riding on this.
Yeah, that's where we'll see how things go, because any new Metal Gear without Kojima is going to be...
yes.
But let's just give you a shitstorm on the internet.
Right. But they can't do that until they get this right? They have to build up some sort of faith in what they're doing. And if they can get this right,
fans to believe.
Some fans will start to believe, and then they can trade on that a little bit. But in the meantime, it's take your time on this, get it right. Phil Spencer said, we have more Xbox console users than we've ever had. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor, as we kind of catch up on some of the interviews that happened over the past week. It has taken an unusually long time to get gamers to upgrade from last generation consoles to this one. We recently reported that half of PlayStation 4 gamers are still running last generation hardware, and we suspect a similar story for Microsoft. This makes it harder to leave the previous generation, which still regularly gets tons of new games. And combined with services like Game Pass, it makes it harder to interpret sales numbers that no longer give the full picture on the status of the gaming world. In an IGN interview with Microsoft gaming boss Phil Spencer, we get a good example of this. While we know that the Xbox Series S and X has struggled to compete with the PlayStation 5 in terms of sales, it seems that the number of Xbox gamers is still bigger than ever. Spencer said, and this is transcribed by Windows Central, right now we have more Xbox console users than we've ever had in the history of Xbox. The impact of Game Pass, because I watch that, I love Game Pass, but we also want people to be able to buy games. So I will go back and look. What has happened with our third-party game sales? We're up double digits every year over the last 5 years on Xbox consoles. And basically the argument he's making there is there are people still having Xbox One and using it, and then a lot of the audience is going to Xbox Series S and X. So when you combine all these things together, there are more people playing on Xbox consoles than ever before. And yeah, I get that.
Because I was going to say, that can't be right. But then if he just means concurrent players at any given point in
that's
time,
what he means.
That makes sense.
Right. It makes sense. And yet, but it's also okay, what does that sentence mean when we now know also your plan is, and this is something else he said during that interview,
away from console,
is we're moving away from console. We are putting more of our games on expect more of our games to show up on other platforms. This feels like technically true, sure, but it's not true in the way you need it to be to make the Xbox console brand make sense for the future. That is suddenly not changed. And so this one does feel a little bit like CEO talk, and sort of, like last year when I talked to him on the couch and he said, at Game Pass is growing even faster on PC. And I'm like, well, of course it is. But that doesn't like change the story of the overall health of Game Pass or whatever, or the growth of Game Pass as a whole, because that's a smaller number getting smaller. Sure. The reality is that, Xbox is still in the situation it's been in. Expect the company to continue making the choices that have led more of its games to go to PlayStation. I don't think any of that's going to change. This is just the way it is, right?
Right. And I think Phil's good at this. He's good at talking around things a little bit.
Yeah, this one definitely feels like an example of that.
Yeah, not to be too doom and gloom for either of the platforms, but, we're talking about that a little bit with PlayStation, now here with Xbox. Like you say, a lot of CEOs speak. I don't know. I don't like the creative marketing, is maybe how you could put it, where you sort of frame things in a way that, well, you're technically not wrong, but I'm not sure that's really the answer to the question people are asking.
Exactly.
But you're kind of framing it that way.
Exactly.
So when you say more console players than ever, really what he should be saying is more concurrence, and not we're selling more consoles than ever, because that would be incorrect.
Yep.
The whole thing is a little weird to me.
And like I get that we are in an era where selling as many Xboxes always doesn't mean that that should hurt game sales, because people are still buying these games on the old Xbox, but that's also not really what's happening here. Those players aren't upgrading because they don't feel an urgency, and they don't feel the urgency because they're not as interested in the games that are coming out right now. And that's just the way it is. They're happy with the games they've been playing. They're going to keep playing those. That's not good for the future of selling more Xboxes and more Xbox software. Yeah,
you're not selling hardware, you're not selling new, like these big budget first party games that we keep talking about. You're not selling more of those. And I think the reason we get something like this, a headline like this from an interview like this, is because they're kind of doing damage control for they're slowly peeling a band-aid off instead of ripping it off, because everyone needs to get used to the fact that the future of gaming is going to look different. It's going to look like the ultra casuals streaming stuff. It's going to look like the more hardcore crowd moving towards PC and everything. Consoles as we know it are going to slowly shrink in install base at the very least. Maybe there is a day where they do go away forever. I don't think that's going to be anytime soon, certainly not the next generation or anything like that. But that is what we are moving towards. And there's like, no, the consoles are good. The consoles are fine. And that's what this whole story feels like right here, is a little bit of damage control on that, which, sure, do what you have to, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. I would have been interested to talk to Phil and myself. Of course, as I said, we weren't given that opportunity. He pulled out, and I get it. But
I'm sorry, he did what now?
He canceled. That's what I meant to say. All right. Let's hit this last story. Shawn, I'm going to skip this one. That Metroid Prime was announced 7 years ago.
Oh, yeah, because we basically already talked about that.
Exactly. All right. This last one, I just like this when people do this. A shout out to Zach Swisen at Kotaku, who says, this summer is too packed with great looking games. Basically just the lineup of games for the next 3 months.
Holy moly. Yeah.
Do you have some ones you want to call out for July? Because when I look at July, I mean, Dawn Trail is a big one I know for a lot of people. That's July 2nd.
Zone 0, baby.
And your Zenless Zone 0. You're shoot excited about that?
No, yeah. Okay. Like an actual character. Like MiHoYo has like a low key been getting better and better with their games. Like people overlooked Honkai Star Rail last year because it's a gacha game. I totally understand. I totally get it. I would like to remind people, you don't have to interact with the gacha, but if that's like enough of a stink to keep you away from the game, again, totally get it. But their games are getting better and better. That was just a Persona game not made by the Persona team. Basically.
Right, exactly.
It was very good. And so I'm looking forward to ZZZ being a character action game made by that team who's getting better and better. That's actually how they started out, was making a character action game way back in the day. And so to see them like take everything that they've learned and everything now and applying that to a new game, the art style is great and everything. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. I am a 14 player who's a little behind, but I will be catching up here to play Dawn Trail. I want to like be able to talk to Mikey about it and everything. Legit excited, just like you and Dan are. NES edition Nintendo World Championships.
July 18th.
That's gonna be fun, man.
Yes, I am getting very excited about that. It's like, okay, It's a little bit more than a month out. Hopefully we get review codes pretty early. So, well, no, we won't. It's Nintendo. What am I talking about?
We in jail, baby.
Oh, we in jail. Yeah. God, I would just like to be playing that game though. So, really looking forward to that. We will do a ton with that. That'll be a perfect summer event game that we could do here on the site. And then EA Sports College Football 25. It's back July 19th. The same day as Path of the Goddess. Which you are less excited now after hearing Mike's description, right?
Yeah, hearing that it was a little more tower defensey than even I thought it was.
Right.
Kind of
the Path of the Goddess literally refers to the path that the goddess takes, and you need to protect her on that. Yes.
Yeah, suddenly that makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get more looks at that here pretty soon. Frostpunk 2 is July 25th, and then in August, Tomba Special Edition on August 1st. That's great. SteamWorld Heist 2 on August 8th. Anything else stick out to you in August? I guess Star Wars Outlaws is August 30th. That looks pretty good. Yeah. Are you frozen? Are we? Let me double check. Oh no, is my internet broken? No, we're good. We're good. Okay. Hi everybody. We're still here. I've just lost Shawn. I wonder if he's gone for good. I don't know why this website went gray on me though. And then September, let's see here, Star Trucker. I don't know what that is. I think I do remember it, but really it's all about Astro Bot on September 6th. That's what I'm most excited about still, of course. And then UFO 50 on September 18th. But yeah, there's a lot of games on this list. You can go check it out on Kotaku. They've done a lot here. Oh yeah, Concord's August 23rd. I think that's what Shawn was going to say he was most excited about. So I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure I'm representing his opinions accurately and 100%. All right. Let's see here. I got the poll question. I'm going to get that up right now. I'm going to refresh this as we bring it up here. Have you played a Monster Hunter game before? Yes, or 32% said no, 68% said yes. Very popular series. Here we go. There we go. Let's get Lexi framed up proper. There you go. Lexi, how's it going?
Not too bad. I just wanted to drop by to say UFO 50 fucking ripped.
Okay, so you got to play it. It seems awesome. I've been reading that Edge story, so thank you for that magazine. Yeah. I appreciate it.
It was during the day of the devs appointment, which was an hour long, and you got to see 5 games. So you only got about 10 minutes with each game. I spent maybe 8 minutes just playing the golf game.
Oh, hell yeah. Which a golf game? God, oh, yeah. All right. I'm so happy.
I swear to God, they described it to me as golf meets pinball.
Okay. That sounds fantastic. I cannot wait for UFO 50. A game that has 50 games in it, and it's been in the works for, it feels like almost 10 years now. It's been a very long time. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
It seems fucking awesome, and it looks killer. Like, it looks like all of those were NES games in like the best way. It looked really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Also, Lexi, send me your address. I'm going to send you this microphone. I never got a chance to give it to you, so.
Well, I'm just using earbuds right now. I
know. I brought a microphone with me to Los Angeles, and I meant to bring it to you, and I just forgot. So. I'll send that to you.
I'm terrified of the idea of you having my address, not gonna lie.
Yeah, Don't worry, there won't be anything else with it, I promise.
I swear to God, if the game center arrives in Ireland, I'm gonna murder you.
I did refresh the poll chat. We put up the poll late, so yeah, only 600 or so votes on it. But hey, that's a critical mass. Shawn, you're back. Did the computer die? What happened?
Oh, have I ever mentioned how much I hate Windows?
Yeah, it's we were both talking before the show that we're like, we might have to reinstall Windows. It's like getting to be that time.
Jeff, I blue screened, which is that happens sometimes. It happens.
I hate it.
But because Windows, it counted as a restart. I had to install updates, baby.
Oh my God.
Hate this software so much.
Incredible stuff. Fantastic.
2025 next year I'm switching to Linux. Let's go.
Oh my God. You played Monster Hunter before, right? Are you a Monster Hunter guy?
Not really.
Okay.
I played a lot for Ultimate on 3DS, but that's the only game I ever really got into.
That's right. I am also not a Monster Hunter guy. I am Monster Hunter curious, though. I've played it before. I played quite a bit of world, and I played the demo of Rise, and that's it. I want to get into it, and I'm looking forward to like this game coming out and spend a lot of time with it. So
yeah, because the world seemed interesting, but because of the like paper thin story and everything like that, I didn't have a lot pushing me forward. Because that's, I'm not. I know that's kind of the point of Monster Hunter is the co-op and
right.
you know, taking down the monsters over and over, getting your loot. I'm not a loot loop kind of guy. That's why Monster Hunter has never super appealed to me. So yeah, I'm interested in a more like, you know, a cinematic story driven one. I'm curious to see what that looks like.
Yeah, but now it's got that mommy in it, so the waifu.
Dude, Gemma! Oh my God, Jeff, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Put you back in your cell.
Yeah, let me blue screen here.
All right, new poll question. Where are you buying Lego Horizon Adventures? I actually saw Spawn Wave do this same poll, and I was curious. I was interested in the results there. I want to see if we get the same results here. So here are your options: PlayStation, Switch, PC, or I'm not buying Lego Horizon Adventures. We will discuss the result of this poll on Monday on Game Mess Mornings on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, Jan's out, so who knows if anything's going to work. He's out on assignment. So today we're going to do Sniper Elite 5 for UPF. Me and Dan are going to play through a bunch of that. So tune in for that.
To see that,
I know
that'll be fun.
Yeah, I wanted to play it. I never touched it, so I'm glad like we started talking about it. We're like, we should just play that, and we looked into it. We're going to make it happen. Co-op Sniper Elite 5 at what should be, I think, 1 p.m. Eastern today. And then next week, expect most things to happen as normal. Bombcast will happen. I think I'll probably have to host, which I'll do that. Let's make it happen. Yeah. And then Game S Mornings will be back. Blight Club should be back. It might get the schedule might get shaky after that, but the next episode should happen as normal.
Yeah, it should.
And then a lot of the voicemail dump truck will be back and things like that. Mm-hmm. Anything else, Shawn, that we're forgetting that I should mention? I guess all the stuff that's been going up from Summer Game Fest, right?
Yeah, we've been slowly putting up some of the segments. I think the site now has all the archives. If you missed the talkovers, I fixed those as best I could. So both the SGF talkover and the Xbox talkover, the numbers we're trying to recuperate on a little bit since I had to re-upload.
It is what it is.
So, hey, maybe go put on the background, tell your friends and family or something, and go watch those. Especially if you missed it the first time around, because it's a lot cleaner now.
All right, I think in that case we should probably get out of here. That was a good week, good long bit of work there. Haven't had a break in a while, so everyone take it easy this weekend, including you, Shawn.
Yeah,
thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games, man.
Oh, hey, I always love being here, Jeff.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you all for listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye, Snowbike Mike.